Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Watford Women's Show here on WD18, the Watford fan channel. I'm delighted today to be joined by one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player in the history of Watford Women's, and one of the best players in the history of this football club, to be fair as well. She played over 100 times for Wales, scored an absolute ton of goals for Watford and for club and country, and is now the general manager of the women's team at Watford. Welcome to the channel, Helen Ward. Helen, how are you?
Yeah, some introduction. Thank you very much. I'm sure a few of the current players will have something to say about me being the best ever. That's for sure. We got some real talent. But no, thank you for the kind words, and it's great to be here.
Good stuff, good stuff. And I'm also delighted again to be joined by Izzy Horgan, making her second appearance here on the channel. Izzy, you were at the game yesterday, weren't you, against Blackburn? We'll start off by touching on that. How was it going to the game? I know it was a disappointing result, but still enjoyable.
Yeah, the weather was a bit wet, but
Yeah,
otherwise
just a bit.
it was nice. I took my mum along, so it was nice to watch it with her. She doesn't come often.
Good stuff, amazing. And we'll go a bit more in depth on the Blackburn game and also the win against Charlton last week in a bit. But to kick things off, Helen, last week you were inducted into the Wales Hall of Fame. How did it feel getting that award? It's an amazing honour, isn't it?
Yeah, I had no idea. I'm starting to get a few trust issues with those that are nearest and dearest to me because it seemed everybody that knows me knew about it and kept it from me. But no, it was a really nice evening. It was a great evening anyway. I was having a great time, sitting amongst some of Welsh sports greatest athletes and hearing some incredible stories. But then at the end of the night to be inducted into the Hall of Fame myself was really, really special. And as I said, so unexpected, but obviously massively proud achievement for myself, and a night that will live long in the memory.
Yeah, amazing. It's such a good achievement. And everyone here at WD18, I'm sure every Watford fan as well, so proud of you and a huge
Thank
congratulations. One of the reasons I suppose you were given this honour was because of your fantastic career at Watford. Obviously, last season was your last one playing for the club. At what point last season do you think you realised that this would be the final one?
I think I probably knew before the season even started. I think it's been building for the last 2 or 3 years, probably almost since COVID. That brought with it its own challenges, as it did for the rest of the world, of course, with lockdowns and limits on what you could and couldn't do. And there was a period of time where we weren't allowed to train and play at the level we were at. In the summer, when it first sort of broke out, it wasn't too much of a problem because everyone was in the same boat. The men's, women's, Premier League, international, everybody was stopped from playing. But then it sort of changed and it became that the elite could play and we weren't considered that. But then internationally, I was considered elite. So that sort of crossed my mind then, but I didn't want that to define my career and that to end my career. So I carried on for another, 2-3 seasons after that. But gradually my body was sort of saying, no, come on, you're getting too old now. I wasn't able to do what I used to be able to do. My mind was still telling me what I should be doing, but my body wasn't necessarily able to take me there. And I wanted to go out on a high as well. I didn't want it, although my body was starting to fail me, I wanted to make sure that it didn't get to the point where everyone else was wondering why I was still playing. So it kind of gradually came that way. I think not qualifying for the World Cup as well with Wales back in October last year, that was a big moment too. Nakhon thought, do you know what? I'm not going to make it to a major tournament. Wales was such a big part of my football life and my career, and I'm an all or nothing sort of person. So once I decided that was kind of the end, it would have been really difficult for me to carry on playing domestically. But yeah, it's a decision I'm at peace with. I think, having seen the team come back this pre-season and the way they're training and playing, I think it was the right decision. And, I'm not envious of them and the work they're having to put in at the moment because it's of a really high level and high intensity. And I'm just enjoying sort of being part of it from a different perspective now.
Yeah, of course. And we'll touch on your new role in a bit. But Izzy, for you, you're a young Watford supporter. You've grown up really watching Helen help to really grow the women's team, because I think we've seen over the last few years it's gone up another level in terms of the exposure that Watford fans have had to it as well. Do you have any personal highlights that you've had from watching Helen over the years?
I think just obviously when I was younger, women's football wasn't that accessible. So when I'd go to watch the men, because that was all I was sort of introduced to, seeing like the women's games advertised, Helen was always in all the pictures, sort of thing. She was like to me and there was for a few years when I didn't know any players, and it was Helen, sort of thing, and it really like introduced me to the women's side. So yeah.
Oh, amazing. You mentioned as well in the last video how much you enjoyed that Bridgewater United game at Vicarage Road. I think you scored 4, Helen, was it? 3 or 4?
Yeah, it was. I actually have a feeling that I scored in the first half, scored a penalty, and then the other 3 were sort of quite late on. But I actually think I might have been due to come off the pitch around about an hour, but someone else picked up a little knock, and she was our last sub. So I think I got 90 minutes when I probably wasn't supposed to, but I'm grateful that I did, because obviously it ended up with a really memorable day. What I thought was going to be my last game at Vicarage Road at that point, to score the 4 goals. And especially you'd think we won the league on goal difference as well. It's nice to think that contributed to it. All the goals were so important in the end. So yeah, it was a really, really special afternoon. The sun was shining. We had a great crowd, and obviously the result was fantastic too. So yeah, special day.
Yeah, it was amazing, particularly because the men's team weren't doing so well at that moment. So it was good to really have a Watford team to be proud of at the time. It was an unbelievable season last year, as you mentioned. Could you talk us through what that was like for you as one of the more senior players in the dressing room on an emotional level?
Yeah, it was difficult because we'd had such a heartbreaking end to the season before, which thankfully now we can almost forget about and, put that one away. But the way that it ended and the last kick of the last game of the championship season to relegate us, it was really important that we regrouped and came together and said, look, this is our aim. We want to get promotion straight away. And I only found out recently that no team has actually been relegated and come back into the championship through on-pitch performances. It's only ever been when there's been a renewing of licenses and stuff like that. So for us to do that and be the first team to sort of go down and bounce straight back up is something that, we should all be really proud of. But as you said, as a senior player, it was just making sure that we didn't get carried away. We knew we had a really good squad. We knew we had a group of players and staff that was more than capable of achieving our goal. But at the same time, with the badge, the Watford badge, the sort of profile and stature of the club, the fact that we were a championship team the season before, that comes with its own pressure, and we're always going to be a scalp for every other side. And that's a different sort of pressure to deal with when you go from almost being the underdog in every game to then being the favourite. It's a really different mindset to have. So we did a lot of work on that. We did a lot of work with the staff, the coaches, psychologists, that kind of thing, to make sure that we were ready for every challenge. And okay, it didn't go perfectly. We had some ups and downs, but that's football, right? And every time we had a blip, we regrouped really quickly, and we bounced back more often than not with a really positive result. And at the end of the season, that all counted. There was last-minute equaliser from Poppy against Ipswich, moments like that at the time you maybe don't think are going to define your season, but actually they all come together to make their mark. And a couple of times throughout the season, I made a point of saying to the girls that everybody's having or will have their moment, whether you're in the team or out the team, whether we had a couple of long-term injuries as well. There were a lot of players that perhaps at times didn't feel part of it through one reason or another, and I made sure that wasn't the case, and sort of brought them back on board and said, look, you've had a really important role to play, whether it's showing up and doing your rehab every time, every day, every training session, even though you can't play. That's giving the girls that can play that motivation. And the same for those that I found myself on the bench a fair bit during the season, and for me it was important that if you're on the bench, you're ready when you're called upon, and every single person was, and every single person had their moment that contributed at the end to us winning the league. And it was just a fantastic group of people to be a part of, and obviously on a personal level, it was the perfect way for me to end my career.
Of course. Izzy, how special was that for you as a fan last season?
Yeah, it was a really special season. Just like Helen says, it wasn't the perfectest season, but it ended in the perfect way. And I think that's just an attribute to every single player, whether they were starting, not starting, in the gym doing their rehab, like putting in everything they can to come together and obviously achieve something great.
Amazing. Helen, you obviously picked up a new role this summer as well, the general manager for the women's team. Firstly, was this something that you you thought about last season, the role that you wanted to take up, and also what does that entail on a day-to-day basis? Because it's quite a broad title, isn't it, general manager?
Yeah, absolutely wasn't on my thinking for this season. I always wanted to stay involved at the club in some capacity, and I've had a few conversations with various people at the club as to what that might look like and how we can best utilise me, really. But at the same time, I didn't want anything just as a token gesture, because I wanted to have an impact. I wanted to be able to keep contributing to the club and the team, even if it wasn't going to be on the pitch. So there are a few sort of ideas floated around, an ambassadorial type role and stuff like that. But then I came back after doing my UEFA B licence in the summer, and had a conversation with Laura and Damon, and they said, "Look, we need a general manager. What are your thoughts?" And I was like, "Whoa, that's a big jump." But the more I spoke to them, and the more I spoke to other people at the club, the more I thought, you know what, it's a really good way of me being able to have a positive impact and really help the development of the club, and also stay involved from a personal point of view. I made some really good relationships with the players and the staff over the last few years, and it's nice for me to still be able to maintain those. Yeah, it's from a different perspective, but it's one where I feel like I'm able to really try and have a positive contribution and be part of the team in a valuable role. So I'm enjoying it. It's very different. As you said, it's a very general manager is a very apt title for the job, because it does encompass absolutely everything, whether it's trying to sort out commercial funding, dealing with contract negotiations, making sure that operations on a match day all go smoothly. And, it's a really broad range of jobs that you have to do. And I think it's probably a job for more than one person, but at the minute I'm trying my best to do it as well as I can. Thankfully, I've got a lot of really good people around me. The staff, the technical team, people like Elliot in the media department who do so much for us, and then others in and around the club that have been really supportive. So thankfully, I've got some good people around me. I'm not afraid to ask questions either, so that helps. But yeah, it's a job that I hopefully will grow into and find my feet a little bit more. I'm not going to say that it's easy at all. It's way out of my comfort zones in many ways, but yeah, I'm doing my best, and hopefully that's enough, and I can keep improving and keep helping the team.
Of course, and it does seem so far with the way that we've started the season performance-wise that you do seem to be having an impact already. But you mentioned that UEFA B licence. Would you still consider coaching in the future?
Potentially. I mean, it was never something that was at the forefront. I did it more for the experience and to have that sort of knowledge in the background and have it there, that if I do decide that I want to go down that route, then it's done and I've got it. It was a really valuable course, to be honest, not just from what you learn in terms of on-pitch stuff, but also the stuff that goes around planning and preparing for training sessions and games. So that was really valuable. It might be something I'll dip into here and there, but in the immediate future, probably not. And then you saying about the good start we've had on the pitch, I can't take any credit for that. The coaches have done a great job with getting the team to play the way we are. We probably deserve another 2 or 3 points on the board, in my opinion. But really pleased with how they've started, and fingers crossed those performances will start turning into points sooner rather than later, because there's only so long you can rely on good performances. If you don't have the points to back it up, then you're going to get yourselves into trouble. But I've got a lot of faith in the team and how they're doing, and fingers crossed, as I said, that can turn into points on the table sooner rather than later.
Yeah, let's hope so. Last question from me before I hand over to Izzy to talk a bit more about this season. What are the next steps for you in terms of getting the women's team to maximum engagement amongst the Watford fan base? Because the women's game as a whole, I think, particularly post the Lionesses' success, I think this country are becoming a lot more receptive and a lot more aware of the women's game. But in terms of the immediate steps to make it more prominent amongst Watford fans, how do you envision that?
Yeah, it's just about getting ourselves out there, really, doing things like this, having the girls come onto your channel, and just putting our faces out there for people to see. And I think the good football that we play is also attractive. I think the success we had last year really helped as well. I think we gained quite a few new fans. And it's just about trying to translate the sort of online presence that we've got, which is fantastic. And again, that's credit to the likes of Elliot for that. We've got a really good number of social media followers, and our presence there is brilliant. We just kind of need to translate that into people through the door. So yeah, if anybody's listening or watching to this, get yourselves down to a game. It's entertaining. Izzy will tell you that, okay, the results don't always go our way, but we put on a good show. There's a lot of passion, there's a lot of commitment, and then it's up to me to try and, get ourselves out there in different ways as well, and create new partnerships with whether it's local businesses or things like that. Anybody that's got an interest in the women's game and wants to help it grow, then yeah, I'm open to conversations. So there's a combination of different things to try and get us out there a little bit more, but I think fundamentally it's the football on the pitch that counts, and if we can be successful, then that's going to help bring people through the door to watch us and engage even more so.
Definitely. And I do try and tune in whenever I can to the women's games, and also try and head down to them as much as possible. But Izzy, you rarely miss a game for the women's teams. It's only appropriate that you and Helen are able to discuss this season a bit more. So do you want to kick us off with that?
Yes, obviously coming off the back of the Blackburn game, Helen, what are your thoughts just on the result overall?
Yeah, disappointing. Obviously, it's the first game that we've not managed to score in as well. We've done really well, and as a newly promoted side, to have that sort of threat in front of goal is important. But unfortunately, just didn't go for us yesterday. Just lacked a little bit of conviction, perhaps in and around the final third. But the type of football we're playing, we're getting a lot of compliments from the opposition, and yesterday was no different. I don't know, there was just something missing yesterday. It just didn't feel like it was going to be our day. But again, it's a game where we've come up against a team that's right up there in terms of the table. They've had a fantastic start themselves, Blackburn. So it was never going to be easy. And it's just up to the team now. We've got to regroup, got an international break now. So a few have gone off to represent their countries, which is fantastic. But it's time for the rest of the girls to get down, work hard, make sure they're ready for the trip to Sunderland, which again is going to be another really tough game. But yeah, lots of really positive bits to take, but also, plenty to work on as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I was at the Charlton game. It was a lovely sunny day. Carly Johns scored again, meaning she's got 3 goals in 4 appearances. Just how good is she? She's really hit the ground at Watford.
Yeah, she's fantastic. Really good little player. I mean, and we knew she was good anyway. She caused us problems when she played against us for Oxford, and obviously finished last season as the National League top scorer. So we knew she knew where the goal was. I think perhaps we underestimated just how good she was in the link-up play as well, in and around the sort of middle of the pitch, bringing others into play. She's been super. Really intelligent player. I'm enjoying watching her an awful lot. She works, whoever she's playing alongside, she works off their movement. She's the epitome of a team player, which I really rate. And in a goal scorer, you don't always get that, but she's got everything that you need apart from probably height. But that doesn't seem to go against her, because her timing of her movement and her, the timing of her jump, whether it's, in the air or whatever, she's a top player, and we're delighted to have her. And people might be surprised that she scored 3 already, but from what we've seen right back from July when she came in pre-season, it's no shock that she's hit the ground running and, become a real threat for us.
Yeah, and Damon's done a fantastic job. What is it that he sort of brings that's most valuable to us?
I think he gives the girls confidence in what we're doing. There's no sort of problem if we lose the ball in certain areas. I know it's quite similar to the way the men are trying to play, in that there's a lot of high risk football, and sometimes that will cost you. It will cost you a goal, or it will cost a chance, or what have you. And that has happened to us a couple of times this season. But I think in the last couple of games, where that confidence is growing, we've been a lot better at that, and we've not given up chances so easily. And I think, speaking to the players, the confidence that Damon, Matt, and Laura, who obviously work a lot on our playing style, then they know they're never going to be, chucked under the bus if they give the ball away. If they're trying to play the way that we want to play, then there's never a problem with that. And for any player, having that confidence is the biggest thing. It's the most important thing when you're out there. You're not scared to make mistakes. And when you're not scared to make mistakes, you tend to make less of them anyway. And that then lends into how we play. We like to keep it on the floor, use the pace that we've got in at the top end of the pitch, play a nice style, break teams down, and at the end of the day, try and get as many goals from that as possible. But it's a brave style, but one I'm really enjoying watching.
Yeah, I'm loving the confident passing from the team. And it's a tough league, so we need the confidence. But what would you say is like the ambition this season for the side? Obviously, coming straight back up.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of sides would come up and say survival's the biggest thing, but for us, we're looking further on than that. I'm not going to sit here and say we're going to win the league or anything like that, but we're definitely there to compete in every game, and whoever that might be against, we're ready to put ourselves out there and compete for points, and we'll see where that takes us at the end of the season. But it's certainly not about coming up and banking up, being hard to beat and hoping that we survive. It's not like that at all. And all the players we brought in, many of whom have played in the Championship for a number of years at the top end of the league, they haven't come in just to survive either. So it's just, play the way we want to play, be confident in that, and see where that takes us. But certainly we'll be looking to the middle to top end of the league come the end of the season if everything goes to plan.
Yeah, definitely.
Amazing. Yeah, really looking forward to seeing how the team get on this season. Just to wrap up, Helen, we've now got our head-to-head quiz where basically we're putting up against each other different players in the women's team set up and seeing who knows their Golden Girl teammate the best. Obviously, we don't have someone else on here today, so we'll be able to ask you 3 questions to see how well you know the squad. So you ready to kick off? Good stuff. Maybe an easy one to start off with, but how many Welsh players are currently in the women's team?
1, Liv Clark.
Good, excellent. Love that.
I was thinking, is this a trick question?
Well, I thought it'd throw you off a bit, to be fair. And Charlie was saying before, no, it's too easy. I thought it would throw you off a bit. So did well with that. Last week, Sophie McLean won the Barclays Women's Championship Player of the Week. Amazing to see. But which club did Watford sign her from?
We signed her from Billericay last season.
Oh, amazing! I feel like I've made these too easy. It's all part of parcel of your job, isn't it? To be fair, as well.
Exactly. If I don't know my players, there's a problem.
And the last one, how many goals did Flo Fife score in the 22-23 season?
Oh, that is a tough one. I think it's more than 10 because she was flying at the start, then she had a bit of an injury. I'm going to go 11.
That's wrong, unfortunately. The answer was 8. You did better than Ali Polish, who only got 2, who only got 1, I think, actually. So 2 out of 3. It's decent. You'll take that. Helen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Have you got a quick message to the Watford fans before we wrap up?
Yeah, just thank you for all the support. As I said, we know that there's a lot of you out there, and if you ever find yourself wanting to come to a game, then do it. It's a really good atmosphere. There's some good people around, and the football on the pitch is really exciting to watch. So yeah, come along to a game if you can. Bring a friend, introduce someone new to it. But yeah, most of all, come on you Orns.
Oh, come on you Orns. Best way to end it off. Helen, thank you so much for coming on today. Izzy, and thank you so much for joining us for another episode.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
We'll be back for plenty of really exciting content here on WD18. We play West Brom on Wednesday night. We've got some really exciting content coming up after that. Make sure to keep an eye on our socials, and we'll be back for another video very soon. Up the Hornets.